What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to the channel. So Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 4 is finally out, and there was a lot in this episode to talk about, so let's get into it. So we begin the episode with Kenobi being taken away from Mapuza by Tala and Ned B. He was pretty burned up after being dragged through the fire by Vader. Now when Vader let him escape, I feel like he has some more in store for him, and has a reason why he let him go. Because other than that, I don't see why Vader would just let him escape. He could have easily stopped them, because that fire wasn't stopping him. Now we see Obi-Wan get placed in a Bacta tank, while at the same time Darth Vader is in his. They share a connection while glimpses from episode 3 flash. Obi-Wan then wakes and emerges from the tank. From there we see Fortress Inquisitorius, where Princess Leia is being held hostage. Reva begins to interrogate her, even letting her believe that Obi-Wan is dead, just to take away whatever hope she has left. We go back to Jabim, where Obi-Wan and Tala ask a man named Roken for his help so they can save Leia. At first he refuses, but then eventually tells of his wife who was Force sensitive and taken by the Empire, so he understands and agrees to help. Roken pulls a map of the Mustafar system and shows them Nur, the planet where the fortress resides and Leia is being held. During their discussion on how they're planning on infiltrating the base, one of the members mentions how they're not soldiers. Now by the end of the episode, I believe these individuals will eventually join the Rebel Alliance, and you'll see why. Tala decides to go with Obi-Wan while using her officer clearance to sneak inside. They leave immediately to save Leia. While sitting on the ship, Kenobi is still struggling with accepting the fact that Anakin is alive, and he feels guilty for leaving him to burn on Mustafar. They then arrive on Nur. Tala takes a direct approach and sneaks straight into the fortress. She runs into a small problem with the head of security, but after quickly creating a false narrative, they let her through. Once she's in the system, Tala is able to open an entry port for Obi-Wan, who was using a rebreather to access the fortress from the ocean. Once he sneaks in, he easily takes out a stormtrooper, then begins roaming the halls in search for Leia, who we then cut back to her and Reva, who is trying to collect information. But Leia is strong in the Force, so Reva gets nothing. Though I find it odd that Reva wasn't able to sense that Leia had some Force abilities, especially if a child is able to resist giving information to a Force user. The Inquisitor's whole purpose is to search for Force users, so you'd think she'd be able to tell if one was right in front of her. But moving on. Leia's droid Lola tries to attack the third sister, but she sees this coming and quickly snatches the droid. We come back to Obi-Wan still searching the halls, but secret droids are guarding everywhere, so he has to be cautious, even having a near encounter with a duo of stormtroopers. Eventually he finds his way into the secure sector. There it is discovered they have a whole tomb of Jedi being kept. It's unclear if they're dead or just being kept like how Han Solo was in Carbonite. Maybe using them for future Inquisitors when the others die off, or for Palpatine's experiments, who knows. One of the first Jedi we see is Tara Sinub, who was a Jedi who sat on the High Council before the Phantom Menace. He's mostly known for the Clone Wars episode, where he helps out Ahsoka after she loses her lightsabers. We get to see more Jedi and even a youngling, who I believe is the one we see from episode 1. Reva is on the verge of torturing Leia before she's interrupted by an officer sent by Tala to distract her. Tala tries giving her some false information to keep her occupied, while Obi-Wan rescues Leia in an awesome scene. We see the lights cut out and a lightsaber ignite. The two stormtroopers guarding over Leia are quickly defeated. This scene is such a cool callback to the Force Unleashed trailer, where Starkiller takes out the stormtroopers in the same way, after Vader orders them to execute him. Obi-Wan then saves Leia and they make their escape. While running down a hall, they're spotted by a seeker droid, which sets off the alarm for the entire base. Stormtroopers immediately begin to engage, but they're no match for Obi-Wan, who retains his old Jedi fighting style, Sori Su. While firing at him, Obi-Wan deflects the blaster bolts that hit the windows of the underwater compound and cause them to crack. A large group advances on Obi-Wan and Leia. In this group we can see a Purge Trooper, who are used to assist the Inquisitors when helping to hunt down Jedi. Obi-Wan deflects a blaster bolt into the control panel to close the door. While the Stormtroopers try to force their way through, Kenobi holds back the force of the ocean. He then releases it on all the Stormtroopers as they break through. He puts on an officer cap and cloak while hiding Leia beside him. They all make their way to the docking zone, nearly making their escape before Reva confronts them. The whole base has their eyes on them now, surrounded with no way out. Until out of nowhere we hear 2 speeders fly by and launch an aerial attack to give cover to Obi-Wan, Leia, and Tala. This buys them time to enter a speeder and escape the fortress. One of the speeders stays behind to distract Reva, but is killed before he can leave. Rest in peace, Wade. The Inquisitors watch as they escape, and then we hear Vader's iconic breathing. We see him marching down the hall, yelling at Reva in anger as he force chokes her off the ground and tells her what the consequences for losing Obi-Wan were. Reva tells Vader how she let them go, and he releases her. But honestly, I think he would have just killed her. He doesn't really have the time to listen. Vader is often described as being cold and emotionless, so I thought it was kind of an odd choice to have him show some compassion for her. She explains how she placed a tracker on the ship to capture Kenobi and reveal the path. The 5th brother cuts in and explains how the base was almost destroyed, but then Reva quickly says, Kenobi is all that matters. Now I find it odd that she would say that when she just let Kenobi go. If Kenobi truly was the only thing that mattered, then I don't think they would have let him escape. I think Vader would have cared only about Kenobi and not the path. Kenobi was his main priority, so I was surprised that he let Reva live. It's revealed that the tracker is the droid Lola, and the episode ends with Obi-Wan and the rest of the crew on the ship headed back to what I can only assume Jabim. A few of the now soldiers drink in honor of Wade, while we get a heartfelt moment between Obi-Wan and Leia, where she places her hand in his. With only 2 episodes left, I'm a bit worried with how it's going to end. I feel like this show has been a little underwhelming. As much cool references as there are, I can't help but feel like we're missing something. Vader hasn't really felt like Vader, you know? Some of the things he's been doing doesn't really feel in character. I made a video earlier talking about some of my thoughts. Maybe that's just me, but I'd like to know what your guys' thoughts are as well. That's going to do it for this episode. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. If you're enjoying the content, I'd love for you to subscribe and join the Empire. And as always, may the Force be with you.